Hey, we are back for another episode of walking through what I believe is the greatest short story ever told from Luke chapter 15. Today is episode number 10. We are in double digits. I believe we will only have 2 episodes left after today. So we'll wind up, I believe, with 12 episodes total. In yesterday's episode, we began looking at 3 important truths that I think are at the heart, at the center of this story. And we looked at the first one yesterday, and that was the cost of reconciliation. This idea that someone had to pay for this reconciliation, and it's the older brother who was the one who would bear the cost. And so let's look at the other 2 important truths, and then we'll wrap this section up today. So, number 2 is something is missing in this story. The older brother knows that forgiveness and reconciliation is never free. Someone has to pay for it. Either the younger brother has to come and earn his way back into the family, which is what he set out to do with the hired servants plan, or someone has to pay the price for this reconciliation. The older brother in this story would know that, yet he refuses to do it. He would have known it, but yet he refuses to do it. He gets angry and refuses to go in. So as we listen to the story, we are saddened by the fact that the older brother turns out to be a religious person who doesn't seem to be concerned about the lost condition of his younger brother. But this is not where Jesus wants our minds and hearts to remain. Remember, Jesus told his listeners 3 parables together: the lost sheep, the lost coin, and what we refer to as the lost son. In each of the first 2 parables, we see that there's a lost object and someone searches for the lost object. In the first 2, the shepherd leaves the 99 and goes out and searches for the one lost sheep until he finds it. The woman searches until she finds the lost coin. So when we get to the parable of this lost son, the listeners fully expect that someone will set out to search for the younger brother and bring him home. But to their surprise and ours, no one does. Jesus is leading us to ask who should have gone out to search for this lost brother. The answer would have been quite clear to the first century audience. It should have been the older brother. That was the reason that the oldest son got the lion's share of the estate, 2/3, while the younger son got 1/3. It was his job to sustain the family's unity and its place in the community. It's reminiscent to God, in essence, telling the resentful older brother in Genesis 4, "You are your brother's keeper." The older brother in the parable should have said something like this: "Father, my younger brother has left for the distant land where he will surely waste everything you've given him. His life will be ruined. But I will go look for him until I find him and joyfully bring him home, even if it cost me everything I have." But Jesus doesn't put a brother like that into the story. Instead, the father and younger brother have to deal with a resistant, self-righteous older brother, much like the ones who were offended by the types of people Jesus was hanging out with. But the good news is that we don't have to deal with that type of brother. The older brother in the story is there to make us long for a true older brother, one who, if we go astray, won't hold it against us, but will seek after us and bring us back at any risk and at any cost to himself. And that brings us to the third and final truth I'll mention today, is that we have a true older brother. We have a brother who didn't just go into a distant land looking for us. He came all the way from heaven to earth to find us. We have one who didn't just open his wallet for us, but he poured out his life for us. We have a true older brother who gave up everything that was rightfully his so that we could be made right with him. In this story, not only should the older brother have gone after the younger brother, he should have served as the mediator between he and the father at the beginning. And we have an older brother who does both. Listen to how Paul puts it in 1 Timothy 2, 5 and 6. For there is only one God and one mediator who can reconcile God and humanity, the man Christ Jesus. He gave his life to purchase freedom for everyone as a ransom. In other words, he paid our debts to rescue us. This is the message God gave to the world at just the right time. Now parallel that with Mark 10 and verse 45, when Jesus himself said that he came to give his life as a ransom for many. He definitely paid it all so that we could really live. I love these important truths from this story, and I love the fact that we have an older brother who loves us more than anything else. And we have an amazing Father who is indeed the prodigal God. Thank you for tuning in again today and listening and following along. And I want to continue to encourage you, if you're looking for a book or two to read, to dive into this season, to learn even more about Luke 15. The two that have shaped me the most in this series, and I've mentioned them a few times, are The Prodigal God by Tim Keller and The Return of the Prodigal by Henry Nouwen. So those would be two good ones to grab this season and dive into them. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll touch base with you again tomorrow. Take care.